was a 9-point win in the end for the Bombers, set up by a 6-1 third quarter, but you said last week that it'd be the defensive pressure early in the game that would tell a story. What did you learn from that?
Well, I think this year I've always highlighted, I think the effort has been quite good, but there's been two standout games where it hasn't been. That was Geelong, also in St Kilda last week, where it was just, as the club said, non-acceptable, that performance. And I suppose 53 tackles against the Saints. And I think the Saints laid more tackles, yet they had 100 more disposals. So you can see something was horribly wrong. But to lay 83 tackles and see the intent from the start, it keeps you in games. And that's what I thought was brilliant from the Bombers, particularly through that midfield area where I think that's where it all starts for the opposition and where St Kilda really gave Essendon a pounding the week before.
Michael Hurley and Mark Bagley played excellent games. They had an important role on Jeff Garlett and Jesse Hogan. What did you make of their performance?
I love the Essendon backline. I've sort of raved about them all year in what's been a tough season. They sort of rarely lowered their colours. It probably was just that St Kilda game where there was, I think, 26 marks inside 50, which obviously was as a result of the midfield also. But I just thought Hurley really taught young Jesse Hogan a lesson on body work, body positioning, where he played him, and he just goes from strength to strength as a player. I think he'd be the All-Australian centre-half back currently if the season was to stop, or full-back. And with Bagley, I think what I love about him is you know what you're going to get every week. Just the effort is there. It's a 10 out of 10 week in and week out. And I thought Garlett, by the end of it, was sort of second-guessing how hard he wanted to go at contests, which is what any tough small defender looks for.
Brendan Goddard had just 7 possessions against St Kilda, Brent Stanton 13. This week they had nearly 60 between them. What did you make of how the leaders responded this week, particularly in the absence of Jobe Watson?
Yeah, I think both. I'll probably start with Stanton. He's a very maligned player. I think over the course of his career, for a guy who's probably been top 5 in the Essendon best and fairest, probably up to 5 times. And I think that he's had a pretty solid 5 or 6 weeks. Pretty good season. He's just a workhorse, Brent Stanton, and people probably want to see more hardness or greater finishing skills. But he's been a really consistent player for a long time, and he really stood up on Saturday in a young side. And on Goddard, I think people say, would he question his decision to come? But I know the passion that he brings to the footy club week in and week out, his desire might upset a few people sometimes with how he talks to other players and things like that. But I thought his last quarter, 10 disposals, when the Demons were coming pretty hard, I thought he probably stood up as tall as anyone.
Joe Daniher was probably the match winner in the end, kicked a crucial goal late in the last quarter, but also his marking was a real feature as well as his straight kicking. How did you assess his game?
Just his range, he's sort of when he puts his arms up, you can see for the next 10 years it's going to be a nightmare for defenders playing on him. But in terms of the kicking, obviously it'd been a tough month, 1 goal late, and I think that it's always been there in terms of we've seen it on the training track. But confidence is just an amazing thing for a goal kicker. And once he kicked his first one, you could see even his marking grew, his game grew in general, and didn't look like missing after that. So it's a great reward for him for all the work he puts in, and I think it should do wonders for his confidence for the next 8 rounds.
What about some of the other young players? Sean Edwards kicked a couple of goals and looked lively. They gave Nick O'Brien a big role running with Nathan Jones. Yeah,
there was some fantastic jobs done. I thought that Ariel Steinberg, I thought he played his best game of AFL footy. I thought also an older guy. I thought James Gwilt played his best game for the Bombers, was really strong. I think Nick O'Brien, he's just, obviously you look at Sam Mitchell and those types, he's got a long way to go, but in terms of just keeps fighting the footy and did an important job on Jones, who had 20 odd disposals but had no effect on the game. So in the Merritt brothers, who we've raved about, through large periods, go from strength to strength. And just on Sean Edwards, he's got that ability to be good in the air, but also good at ground level. And I think that's what the Bombers forward line really lacks. So let's hope he can develop from here.
So where to now? 6 days or 5 days now, they take on North Melbourne. So it's a quick turnaround. How can the Bombers maintain this form?
Well, I suppose it just keeps coming down to effort. I think that 12 players under 40 games on the weekend. So you're going to have that inconsistency at times, but let's just hope the effort doesn't change. And I think against North Melbourne, you've got to bring effort because they're a pretty destructive side on their nights. We saw that last time that they can hit the scoreboard pretty hard. They're pretty even across the board, but they can also have their off nights if you can take it to them. So that's probably where it comes to. It could go either way this game, and should be a cracker of a Friday night game.
Definitely should be. We look forward to previewing it later in the week. Good on you, Matty.
Thanks, Simon.